Brunch with me, Anya Adams. Sister Brunch is a podcast about Black women and non-binary folks striving and thriving in media, entertainment, and the arts. And we can't wait to share more stories with you over the next few weeks. My co-host Fanshin is out today. We will miss her dearly, but don't worry, she'll be back soon, and I'm super excited to dig into today's interview. Our guest for this episode is the award-winning actor, solo artist, theater and filmmaker, artist educator, and disability influencer, Diana Elizabeth Jordan. We are so excited to have you.
Oh, Anya, thank you for having me in Fanshin and thinking of you and sending you love.
I'm going to just tell our guests a little bit about you, Diana. Here's the rundown on Diana. Diana has been cast in over 60 films, 60 films, television, and theater productions, including CBS's SWAT, which is high action. She recently performed her solo show, Happily Ever After, One Woman's Journey to Find a True Love. I'm on that journey as well. At the 2021 Hollywood Fringe Festival, where she received a diversity scholarship, Pick of the Fringe, and an Encore Producers Award honors. She's an award-nominated director, a producer, and the founder of 2 production companies, Dreaming Big on a Swing Entertainment, I love that visual, and the Rainbow Butterfly Café. Diana is also a member of SAG-AFTRA and Actors Equity Association, and one of the disabled advocates for Women of Color Unite. So with all of that, it is wonderful to bring you onto our podcast, Sister Brunch, Diana, and dig in with you.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you very much.
I'm so overwhelmed with your history of all of these things you've done. And it's not just one thing, it's a multitude. One of the things we like to do on this podcast is talk to our guests about how they got to the place they are now. So do you want to just talk to us a little bit about your background and how you started working in entertainment and got into this world?
Yeah, I was one of those kids, I'm one of those people that always knew that I wanted to be an actor. I mean, I don't, I often, I actually like to joke I was meant to be an actor because I entered the world in a highly dramatic fashion. I didn't breathe on my own for 45 minutes. So the doctors worked on me for 45 minutes before I started breathing on my own. And as a result, I have cerebral palsy, which is a neurological disorder that mildly affects my speech and gait. So I've always known that I want to be an actor. I always had known that I wasn't going to let barriers stop me from being an actor, but I don't think my story is any different than those of us who've always known this is what we wanted to do. I did theater in high school and elementary school. I went on to college and got a bachelor's degree in theater. I was the first actor with a disability to get my master's degree at Cal State Long Beach. I had a Master of Fine Arts, but I've been pursuing this career and also teaching. I teach at a wonderful place called Performing Arts Studio West, where I teach other actors who have disabilities. We are in our 22nd anniversary. It was founded in 1998. They were going into our 23rd anniversary this year. But again, I've always known what I wanted to do. And I think other things came into that where I discovered my love for directing. I discovered that I love to teach. And so they all became these extensions of who I am as an actor. Producing became an extension and a necessary for me to create opportunities for myself. But everything was at that root of this little girl who just wanted to perform and express myself. I also had an aunt who was an actress. She died a year before I was born. So I have 2 stories about her from my grandmother. But she had a very small role in Band of Angels, which also starred the late Sidney Poitier.
Oh,
So
wow.
she was like in one scene in that
But
movie.
still.
But that was really cool,
Yeah.
So yeah, I always known this is what I want to do, and I've always wanted to create opportunities for myself and for other actors who are marginalized by a part of their identity as well.
So did you start acting and then the directing and the producing came? And in terms of the acting, like how did you break through? What was your kind of first experience? How did that go?
I will say this. I was offered the role of baby Jesus. My dad is a minister. I was offered the role of baby Jesus. My mother turned it down, so that's a role you can never do again. So I am over that. But let me tell you, I was offered the role of baby Jesus when I was 6 months old at my daddy's church. And so we'll let that go. But hey, so, I think my first role was like Mother Bird, and, first grade, I was, it was like, Are You My Mother? When I was Mother Bird. But I recently just got into it. I was fortunate to go, I've been mainstreamed my whole life. So I was at the school with kids who did not have disabilities. But my high school had a great theater program, and I was lucky to have teachers that were really supportive. Mr. Rydstrom, Ms. Engelhardt, and Mrs. Polly, who were there, who gave me opportunities in the late Mr. Fuller. So I went to a school that had a great arts program at a time when they were really putting money into the arts program. I grew up in Oak Park, Illinois, which is a suburb of Chicago. So that helped. And then I just fought my way through. I designed a major in college so I could still take theater classes. And then I was just determined when I started in Chicago, which is where I lived before I moved out here, that I was just gonna go to auditions. And
I love it.
I didn't care if it said disability or not. If there's an audition that said woman in her 20s, when I was in my 20s, I would go for that.
I love it.
I just always said, I'm gonna go, and I did get opportunities. I usually got, you're really good. We just don't know how to cast you. I'd be like, give me a part. That's how not that hard. You just, here's the script. But I mean, that's how you cast other people. This is how you cast me. So and things have gotten better over the years. I'm in a new category now. So now I like to say I celebrate the intersections of BIPOC, disability, and maturity. I'm 29 years, give or take. I love it. A lot of years. but that's another thing. I'm in the new category, and I want to celebrate, because I'm in that category of mature woman. So why can't I celebrate a mature woman who's really okay with theater and all aspects of myself, including having a disability? And why can't that woman be a lawyer or a judge? That's what I want to celebrate. I fell in love with someone that looks like Denzel Washington, for example. As an actor, no disrespect to public. I'm talking about on screen only.
This is Sister Brunch with me, Anya Adams. Fanshin is away today. Stay tuned for more of our conversation with our amazing guest, actor and disability advocate, Diana Elizabeth Jordan. We're back. Check out more of our conversation with Diana Elizabeth Jordan.
amazing. Like, what's really interesting, I'm hearing you saying is like, you almost didn't see anything in your way. You were just like, this is what I want. I'm going to put myself in the position to get it.
Right.
And I think that's so inspirational for all of us to just not see the barriers that are being put in front of us. But I do think like a Forbes interview that you had in which you mentioned your agent had said to you, you're Black, you're a woman, you have a disability, and I'm not a social worker.
That was a new, yeah, I went, yeah, that was when in Chicago, I was looking for an agent. I have fabulous representation now, but when I was looking for an agent back in Chicago, I went to one of the big agents in Chicago, and that's exactly what he said to me. And you know, I am very positive, but I didn't want to make it seem like this road has been a better road. This has been very challenging, but I find there's a circular thing, because actually that agent that said that to me, she was the head of the agency. 2 years later, one of her associates called me and said, I want to represent you. And I just said, well, your boss said this. And she goes, well, I'm saying this. And so that wasn't my first agent. So even in the difficulties, which there happen, I mean, there have been many, many tears. I prefer to focus on the blessings. I mean, yes, is it really hard? This is a very tough business, but doing this right now, being on this show is a blessing. It's such a great opportunity to talk about, you know, and I don't like to call it thinking outside the box. I like to say the box is really big. Yeah. We just don't realize how big it is. Yeah. Because I'm not outside of anyone's box. I'm in the box. You just need to see that I belong in the box, not outside of it, and the diversity of other actors who have other disabled actors as well, because we're very diverse, very intersectional group, and we're the least visible, authentically, we're the least visible in film and television and theater, but that is changing, and that's really wonderful. Yeah. And I do find people find it very exciting. I mean, what comes to mind, I was just thinking, like, I don't know if you've watched Sex Lives of College Girls. No, I have not, no. Because I feel like they do a good job of like representing the university experience and a little bit more diverse in terms of people within college are not just able-bodied. There you've got there's a girl in a wheelchair, it's quite diverse, and it's exciting and interesting to watch, because I think people want to hear those stories. They want to understand different points of view. And I think it feels like our industry is slowly like breaking that open, but it also feels like that's work that you've been doing for quite a while, putting one foot in front of the other yourself, but then also creating these organizations to help, you know, as a united front, kind of bust open that door. Right, and I've been a part of some. I mean, like Performing at Studio West, where I teach, that was founded by John Pazis. So I don't want to take credit, but I think as a whole that our actors at Performing Arts Studio West, where I've been teaching, have been cast in over 2,500, I'm sure, you know, roles in film and television and theater. So things are changing, and I'm getting more auditions than I have. And I do get called in to read non-disabled roles, and I love that. I mean, I love when I get called in for the woman in the store or whatever, because that's who I am. I mean, my disability is a part of who I am, but it's just one of my identities. I'm an aunt, I'm a daughter, I'm still doing the life changes that people in their 50s, and I want to proudly say what my age is. I think I'm done with that we shouldn't feel ashamed. You need to feel proud of whatever stage in life we're at. And
Yeah.
then your 50s is amazing. It's
Yeah.
just, let's break down it's another barrier to break down, and not, because I'm not going to deny who I am. Because if I do that, the friends I grew up with be like, you're not 30. What are you talking about? I'm in the hospital with you. You're not 35. So, women shouldn't be afraid to celebrate who they are, no matter what stage in life they're in.
That's such a beautiful sentiment, and one we need to have as a mantra, I feel like, because the world is pummeling us with other ways of thinking about it, which are not as healthy.
Well, I love that women like Andy McDowell and Sarah Jessica Parker are saying, here's my grade, here I am, deal with it. And I'm hoping there'll be a platform, but we're also in the mature acting category that I can represent an image of disability that is a part of that.
Yeah. It's so the other thing I wanted to ask you about was your coaching, because I feel like you spend a lot of time now. You've kind of stepped into this leadership role where you're helping younger actors and people that have decided they want to act, that have developmental disabilities or whatever the kind of situation. You're helping them move towards their goals. How do you see that kind of mentoring and advocacy work kind of dovetailing with your own career work?
Yeah, that's a really good question, because there are times when there was a time, when I'll be like, sometimes my clients get more auditions than I do, and I'm like, wait, and I had to get to the point mentally where I'm like, it's both. I can do both. That's why once I shifted my mindset, and I think there was a long time where my coaching was my day job, and I saw it as the day job. But I really think day job can be such a sabotaging mind word. And so once I shifted, because day job says I'm not successful, I have to have a day job. But once I said, you know what I am? Coaching is an extension of who I am as an actor. And the truth is, rarely am I coaching one of my acting clients, one of the clients at the studio, for a role that I'm going out for too. So, if I'm coaching a young male actor, there's not competition, because it's not like, not like I'm coaching them for a role that I'm going out for, but it still allows me to be direct and be creative. And I love supporting people in their dreams too.
Yeah.
Since the pandemic, the studio has gone online, so I record and tape 4 YouTube classes a week. So all the teachers do. Alexander, our music teacher, did music. Joe, our musician, Joe and Alexander do music. My coworker David did an interview, Meet the Biz, and our wonderful dance teacher and the dance, and then Pascal does the spoken word, then Pascal and Lindsay, they do a yoga tree. So we're offering online content. So in a way now, I'm producing 4 webisodes a week where I write it, I produce it, I shoot it, I edit it, I talk about the edit, and then I send it to be played online. So I'm constantly creating content. Now, but my weekly vlog, A Morning Cup of Joy, will start again next week. So I'm very excited. So you have to be creative and do what you do. And and if I can mentor somebody else, I didn't have that mentoring in the same way that I can give it to other people. I'm honored, and again, you can either look at your glass half empty, half full, or abundantly overflowing. Last year I set the goal I wanted to book the co-stars, and that was the goal I set. And that didn't happen. I had a lot of auditions where, my team is like great auditions. I didn't book, but I was getting called in consistently, which is part of what happened in this industry. But then I realized, even though I didn't book co-stars in TV and film, and the narrative improv space, or we did long form narrative improv, I was asked to be a guest on 4 or 5 different shows last year. So I did get my co-star and guest star role.
Right.
It wasn't in the way I imagined it, but it still happened. And that's
well, also you were in the rooms, girl. So like, it doesn't matter if you didn't get them this year. The fact that people saw you and now they'll remember you and you're out in these other places, like that's so much a part of building your brand in this industry now, I feel like, especially when you have such unique talents to share, like for people to be able to see that, and remember you, they're going to be like, oh yeah, let's get Diana. She was great for this, but it didn't work out, but we'll use her for that. You know what I mean?
Especially now, a casting director might get 500-800 submissions for one role.
Yes.
So if you got called in, you broke, because they're not calling in. They're not calling in all 1,000 of those people. They're probably calling in maybe 50 to 100.
Yeah.
So if you get 1,000, even if you get 500 submissions, they're gonna call in maybe a fifth of that. So just for me to get called in, like you said, I got into the room.
You got in the room
over 13 times last year.
Right.
For me, and the majority of those roles were not disability specific. They were just the neighbor, the lady that worked at the bank. For me, that's huge.
Yeah.
To get in that generic.
Yes.
Supporting category.
Yes.
I was in that category over 13 times last year.
That's so great.
Yeah,
so you broke through in a way that
I broke through.
Yeah. Which is fantastic. And I think it's also like a great lesson for people to see, like as you keep creating your own content, as you, again, like I always say, it's one foot in front of the other, and you're pushing forward for what you want, and you have in your mind what you want, which is to be seen as a person.
Exactly.
The lady in the store, the whatever,
Right.
That's fantastic.
Hi, it's Anya, and you're listening to Sister Brunch. We'll be right back, and if you haven't already, follow us on Twitter at Sister Brunch, Instagram at Sister Brunch Podcast, and on Facebook at facebook.com/Sister Brunch Podcast. Leave us a comment, slide into our DMs, and share your news with us. We want to celebrate your hard work with you.
I have a very specific question we like to ask our guests.
Sure.
You don't have to answer if you don't want to, but we like to talk about it because we feel like people don't talk a lot about their salary and their range and what they get paid. And are you comfortable talking about like versus...
right now, as far as acting, I've done some ultra low budget films. I'm making standard union rates for when I do. Honestly, as far as TV and film shows, I'm not booking that on a regular basis. But when I do, it's nice. And again, sometimes I look at things when I do a role, especially when there's not the compensation. I go, well, will this make me, if this role a challenge, will it make me grow? How does it feel?
Yeah.
So sometimes I get paid like doing the improv shows. I started working with Improv LA and doing narrative improv, which is a longer form of improv, which I've fallen completely in love with.
Yeah.
So I may not get paid to do those shows, but the creativity, the creative role that a casting director may not necessarily see me in, the freedom to continue to work on my listening skills as an actor, to be challenged like, here, you're gonna do this for an hour and there are no lines and there are no scripts. Here you go. That was like, and to work on trusting the wonderful other improvers I get to work with. That's incredible. So I may not get the financial compensation. And honestly, during the pandemic, that kind of saved me too. But was so, these past 2 years have been incredibly challenging.
Yes.
In so many ways. So
I like that answer though, because I feel like, as an actor specifically too, you may not be getting paid a lot of money to do the project, but the experience and the foundation it's building for you is only going to help you make more money when you get the job, because you'll be able to like pivot in whatever way, or
exactly. And everything now, for example, there's nothing wrong with doing background work, but for me, that's not something I want to do anymore, because I've been working really hard for over 30 years at my career. So I think you have I think you also have to know what your boundaries are and what you're willing to do, and be okay with that. There's certain things I may not feel as comfortable doing. So I think you really just have to be able to say, this is okay and this is not, and it's very individual with each person.
Yeah. Agreed. Diana, I could like literally talk to you all day because you have so much interesting like experience and stuff. But we're coming to the end of the podcast, and I just want to give you an opportunity, because you did earlier talk about all these names. You're like, you don't know these people, but this is what we're doing. Can you tell us just, what are you doing right now? How can we support you? Where do we go to follow you on the Instagrams and the Facebooks and
So to know more about Performing Arts Studio West, that is PAStudiowest.com, and that's the place I've worked as an acting coach and teacher for the past 21 years, and that's also a great resource for talented actors with disabilities. If you want to follow me, you can go. My website is my name, DianaElizabethJordan.com. My Instagram and Twitter are all From the Heart DJ, and that's where you'll also find my new Morning Cup of Joy vlog, with premiere next February 2nd. The first
that's fantastic.
Of the year is next Wednesday. I take a little break because they're back, and you can find out about my one-woman show also on my website, and that will lead you to my other company. You can support me. Call me in. Can I say that? Call me in. Call me in for something, and call me in and give me an opportunity to show you what I have to offer.
Yeah, I love that.
Call me in and give me an opportunity to meet with me and let me show you what I have to offer. And maybe if this project isn't right, there'll be another one. But that's what I just, I don't demand. I just would love an opportunity to show more people what I have to offer. And yes, I want to book, but I can't book if I don't get an opportunity to come in the room. So I would love an opportunity to get in more rooms, and then maybe that room will lead to the set.
Another one. I love it.
I got in the film last year and I want to get on the set, this year.
That's so great. I love that. I want to
From the
high five
room
you.
to the set. Yeah.
I love it. From the room to the set.
I did a thing for this year, reaching new heights. I take a motto every year, and this year is reaching new heights. So that's what I'm going to do.
Well, Diana, thank you so much for coming on our show. I loved talking to you, and I think you really provided some incredible insight for our listeners and for me as well. And it's just been a pleasure.
Oh, thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to Sister Brunch with me, Anya Adams. That was our conversation with Diana Elizabeth Jordan. Visit sisterbrunch.com to find out more about her and how to support her upcoming projects. Remember, Fanchin will be back with me soon. But in the meantime, don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Sister Brunch Podcast. We're also on Twitter at Sister Brunch and on Facebook at sisterbrunch.com/Sister Brunch Podcast. Got questions for our Ask Sister Brunch segment? Visit sisterbrunch.com to fill out our questions form, and we might just read and answer yours on air. Also, sign up for our monthly newsletter to get job tips, viewing recommendations, and more. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review our show on iTunes. Your support is really, really important to us. Our senior producer is Sonata Lee Narcisse. Our show producer is Brittany Turner. Our executive producer is Cristobal and Cia Boade. And we'd like to acknowledge that the land we record our podcast on is the original land of the Tongva people for those of us in Los Angeles. Can't wait to see you next time. Take care, everyone.